If you're anything like me, you probably sometimes wonder if you're doing enough as a young man. Obviously, perfection is never achievable, there's always room for growth, but wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of quantify where we are and where we need to grow? Well, today that's kind of what I hope to be doing with you. I made this little 10-question quiz, and I think it's kind of stuff that I've pulled out of my own life, stuff that I think every man needs to be working on, and especially young men. Basically what we're going to do is we are going to have a column. So get a piece of paper, write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay? For each question, we're going to give ourselves a percentage score, okay? So basically 50% is going to be the average person. So if you are over 50%, you're over average. If you're under 50%, you are under average and definitely need to be working on that. If you put yourself as 100%, you're probably overly prideful, okay? Put yourself somewhere in between there. If you're already watching this video, you're probably somewhere over 50%. I'm gonna spoil alert, I put myself over 50% for each of the questions, so score yourself accordingly. One other fun thing that you can do is you could get a partner to do this with, and then you could each score each other's tests so that you get an outsider's opinion. Then you could do your compare that to your own score of your own test. You could subtract the difference, and then you could average that out, and then you have the average of two people's opinion of where you're at as a man. I know, math is evil, but it can be useful. So the first question I'm going to kick us off with is, how are you doing in physical strength? Now, when I say that, I don't necessarily mean the extra strength that a lot of people build at the gym just for looks. I mean a actual physical, hard-working strength, okay? Practical kind of strength, strength with a purpose, okay? So you're not only strong, you also have endurance. You can work for a long time, and you can use your strength in your work. It's not all just upper body. Sometimes it can be running. It really depends on the person, what you need for strength-wise, but a good question to ask yourself would be, am I being held back from doing everything that I could be doing because I'm not strong enough to do some things? And if so, then rate yourself accordingly and work on that. Second question is, how are you doing mentally? No, I'm not asking you if you are a psychopath. What I'm asking you is, do you work to improve your mind? Okay, so basically, do you have a grasp on useful mathematics? Do you have a good vocabulary? Do you have are you good at spelling? Can you write down your ideas clearly and concisely on paper? Do you have a good knowledge of history? What events went on before you, world history, your own country's history? Do you have a good basic knowledge of science, biology, chemistry? Chemistry is evil, but you should have a basic knowledge of all of it, biology, chemistry, physics. I'm probably missing one. And then that's kind of what we focus on in school, but really that's not really worth anything if we can't actually apply that in the world. So you have to have a good grasp on how the world works and how these things can be applied in the world. Otherwise, the rest of it's really useless. Okay, so there you go. That's mental. Score yourself accordingly. So moving off in a different direction, our third question will be, how are your people skills doing? Okay, so basically, do you know how to deal with people? Can you deal with children, and can you deal with adults? How are your conversation skills? Can you clearly articulate what you're trying to say, and are you a good listener? Can you understand when somebody's trying to explain something to you? Can you make yourself understood? Okay, so there's a lot that goes into this, but basically, how are you in your interactions with other people? Okay, especially like on a professional level and even on a personal level, okay? We're gonna get into this a little bit more in another question, but go ahead, rate yourself accordingly. So you guys knew I was gonna go here, but how are you doing as a protector? You got your skills. Are you good with weapons? Knives, guns, sticks, trash cans, improvised weapons, whatever you got. Are you good with whatever you have in your hands? Are you good with your empty hands? Can you fight with your fists? Can you grapple? Can you, do you know how to kick? Do you know how to escape chokes? How to, do whatever you need to do to get out of a fight? Are you good with situational awareness? Can you spot a threat before they become a threat to you? Do you know how to de-escalate a situation? Are you good with basic medical? I'm gonna throw that in there too. So if you are perfect at all of that, you can go ahead and give yourself a 45%, because that's not the whole deal of being a protector, right? You've got to have your skills, you also have your mindset, okay? So you've got to have the courage to be able to use those skills even in the face of extreme adversity and terrifying trying situations. Okay, you've also got to have the grit to fight through even intense and enormous pain. You've got to have the smarts to be able to use these skills in a cohesive manner. Okay, you've also got to have the love to be able to lay down your life in the protection of another. Otherwise, you're not a protector. You're just like a self-preservationist. Okay, so that's what we got there. Go ahead and rate yourself accordingly. So to throw you completely offset and go in a completely different direction, are you preparing for your future? Because this is specifically a test for young men, so you've got a lot of future ahead of you, and it's probably important that you're thinking about that, right? So, do you plan for the future, or do you live in the moment? Something that really shows how you are, whether you're planning for the future or not, is how you spend your money, right? So are you saving? When you spend, are you spending it wisely on good investments? I mean, yes, you can have fun. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying that the majority, for the majority of the time, are you spending your money wisely? Are you saving, and are you earning as much money as you can? Within reason. And I'm not saying that you need to have everything planned out, like your life planned out, but maybe you should be thinking about, hey, what are my passions? What do I want to be working towards? Do I want to set up my own business? Do I want to go into some specific business? Can I be working? Can I be focusing on my school energy on certain areas, or whatever? Be thinking about the future. Okay, so that's what I've got for you. Rate yourself accordingly. Do you have practical skills? Okay, so practical skills, I mean like stuff like woodworking, metalworking, plumbing, electrical, car repair, or engine repair, whatever, and so many other things. There's so much that can go into this. So basically, are you trying to learn as many practical life skills as you can, even if you don't necessarily have to do them right now? Are you trying to learn those life skills? Okay, rate yourself accordingly. Next, we have, do you take your relationships seriously? We could look at your family. Do you actually work hard to have a good relationship with your family? You could look at your friendships. Are you intentional about your friendships, or are you just about what you can get, me, and you aren't actually giving back in that relationship? Do you work to build the existing relationships instead of constantly chasing after that next relationship? And are you very intentional to serve the other person in that relationship? Okay, that's what I got there. Rate yourself accordingly. Do you have an allegiance to your country? Now, this is a very interesting one. I don't think that a lot of people think about this a lot, but I think that God put you in your country, even if you're not in America, He put you in your country for a reason, okay? And He expects you to do everything you can to fight for that country. Do you have a strict, deep allegiance to your country? It's something that was built into America. I don't know about every other country, but usually you have a sense of patriotism, and as the country gets older and older, people want newer and newer ideas, so the old patriotism kind of fades away, and then it kind of just falls off from there. People start to think of themselves and not their country, and I think that's a sad thing. I think men are called to fight for their country. So, do you have a strong allegiance to your country? Rate yourself accordingly. Okay, so next we have, are you dependable? Are you trustworthy? And do you have integrity? I think they all kind of go together. Okay, so does your word mean something? When you tell somebody you will do something, does that mean something? Can they trust that you will fulfill on your when you say you will do something? When you put yourself to a task, do you finish that task? Do you hold yourself to a standard that maybe is higher than other people's expectations? Do you do the right thing even when nobody's looking? Okay, so that's kind of what I'm getting at there. It's a difficult thing. Obviously, we should be at 100%, but it's difficult. It's something that when you really think about it, and you really have to be honest, and sometimes it hurts to be honest about these things. Sometimes we aren't as good about that as we should be, but it's very, very important. So, yeah. Rate yourself accordingly. So now we come to the final question, and it's kind of a deal breaker. If you don't get this right, you're probably gonna have to cut your score in half because it's that important. Do you take your faith seriously? Okay, so a lot of people have a very easy believism mindset. They think that basically they can accept Jesus into their life, and now they've got a free ticket to heaven, and they go on their merry way and they live however they want to. That's not Christianity. Do you actually live out your faith? Okay, do you own it? You can't live off your parents' faith. It's not a way into heaven, and it's not a way to live the Christian life, right? The Christian life is not just about religion. It's a lifestyle. You have to understand who God is and what He requires of you, because He does require things of you. as a man. He has a calling for you as a man, okay? It's not just enough to be a Christian and know good Christian things. You have to actually understand God's calling for you, okay? So basically, do you understand God's calling? Do you take that seriously, and do you live for that calling? Do you live unto Christ, or do you live unto yourself? Because that's really going to be the defining factor in whether you are going to succeed as a man or not. So there you have our little quiz. I know 10 questions is kind of a lot, and it's really hard to rate yourself on each of these, but I think it's a good thought exercise, and it really forces you to be honest with yourself on where you are at as a man. Please, again, don't go the easy route and give yourself like 35% on each one and be like the humblest guy there. I did tell you I would give you my overall score. I wrote it all down below in the comments. While you're down there looking at my score, you could go ahead and leave your score. First, finish your score before you look at my score. Otherwise, you're cheating, okay? Don't cheat on the test, okay? So you can go and look at my score. You could put your score down there. You would really make my day if you did that. And if you had any other thoughts, like maybe I totally missed something on my quiz and you're like, you really need to put this there, go ahead, throw it down there. The quiz is already out, but I would appreciate any critiques that you have. So without any further ado, that's what I've got for you. We will see you next time.